Welcome in, everybody, to the My Pets Wellness Weekly Wellness Podcast. My name is Kevin Crispin. I am the Chief of Staff at My Pets Wellness. As always, great to have you back. If you're new, welcome in. As I said, today we're here with Jimmari. Hey, Jimmari.
Hello, Kevin.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well. So, Jimmari, let's start by this. What do you do here at My Pets Wellness?
Okay. Well, it's been an very interesting flows of events. I started here as a technician for a telehealth platform that came out in the aids of COVID. Pet parents who were not able to reach out to a vet and had questions where if they needed to take their pet in or not, or potential high times of exposure then. And now I am the manager of the Concierge Center for My Pets Wellness.
Wow. Okay. So unpack that a little bit. You said that you were a tech. So we're going to talk, that's going to be the subject today. Obviously, you're the subject matter expert here on vet techs and everything. The Concierge Center, that's our team that is answering the phone and assisting customers.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, great. So you started as a vet tech, and now you're managing the Concierge Center. Big jump, obviously, and you said that we started that kind of in the, quote, age of COVID, of which we were still in, but like in the real height of it. So big jump in a quick amount of time, right? I think that's fair to say.
That's very fair.
So we're definitely going to focus on the tech side of your life. But other than that, and other than your really poor choice of baseball teams, tell us something else tell us about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in the islands. I moved to the States when I was a young teenager, just 13, and lived in Jersey. Always had a passion for animals and became a vet tech in the year 2007.
Oh, wow. So you've been doing this for 13 years?
13 years. August 2007.
And when you said the island, do you mean?
Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you lived in Jersey from age 13 on. And always had a passion for animals.
Yes.
So wow. So you've been a vet tech for 13 years. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So you have a ton of experience. Talk about, and this is something I had no idea about. I say that almost every week on this podcast, which is I had no idea about X, Y, and Z. It's pretty much the way you could describe my life. But I had no idea about the importance of the relationship between the vet and the vet tech.
Yes.
First off, for anybody who's maybe listening and doesn't know, give us a brief description. What does the vet tech do?
Well, a vet tech does basically everything that a human nurse would do in an animal setting.
Okay.
And then take it a step further, then you also become, in extended cases, you have to be a emotional or mental support for your team on site, your pet parents or your clients. And you have to be a cheerleader in the times that balance for that, where you see a situation kind of not going so happy. But yeah.
Emotional and mental support, you said.
Yes.
And it seemed like it was going two ways, the pet parent as well as the vet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about, what do you mean when you say there's emotional support between you and the vet? Like, is that like if something bad has happened, you have to be there to kind of, as you said, a cheerleader to rally? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I have found myself in times where I've seen one of my vets at the time, at the moment that I'm working closely with. This could be a surgery setting, or this could be in a very difficult, traumatic setting for a client in an exam room, where I can see how my vet is becoming or starting to feel a little defeated, and just being there to provide additional options or just support.
Yeah.
Of how can we alleviate the situation in any way.
Yeah.
And yeah, just being there. If they're stressed out while they're doing a surgical procedure and their favorite band, play that favorite song. And
what is usually their favorite Beatles song?
You got me.
Oh, probably A Day in the Life, or In My Life. Anyway, so So other than that emotional support, as you're going from appointment to appointment,
Yes.
talk about that relationship. And I love the description that you said of like kind of like a human nurse, but more.
Yes.
Which is not to take away, obviously, from human nurses, but your
Absolutely.
responsibilities. So talk about as you go throughout your day with a vet, why is it important that you guys are totally aligned on what's going on?
So you may have one client waiting for the vet to enter the room. This could be the client that you just went in and collected some history, but that doesn't necessarily say that you don't have 3 other cases that are pending that either are hospitalized, and there's other things that you have to do to proceed or go about the day. So having that open communication enables you to better listen and keep track of what tasks are due next. So say I go into the exam room, I get a full on history for the present patient and client. I will relay all that information to my veterinarian, and as the vet goes in, I will follow in, assist, restrain, do whatever I have to do. And then once my part is done in that end, my responsibility is to, in cases where you're trying to efficiently manage your time, I will exit the room once I get the clear from my vet, go to the treatment room, create a treatment plan that the doctor was talking about, and check in on the other patients that we have waiting for treatment.
Man, that's a lot. So you got to, I mean, it's my astute analysis. So you have to have good communication, right?
Absolutely.
And you just said there, check in with my vet. Does that mean just a look? I mean, or does that depend on excuse me, who you're working with as a vet tech?
Both ways. Absolutely.
Okay.
You get to that point where you have such a close connection with your veterinarian, especially if it's one that you tend to work with in a regular basis. And by regular, I mean you're pulling a 10 to 12 hour shift multiple times a day during the week. So you get to know each other. You develop a familiar sense of, with sometimes a look can tell you like, I'm ready for this, or it's. And you just have to have that connection.
And with that packed day, as you were saying, you have one patient in, maybe for an exam, you have 3, you have follow-ups, I believe you said. So there's a packed day where you also, there are follow-ups for a patient who's not even there, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then making those phone calls and then having to find a private room to make those phone calls, that type of stuff, right? What about a time when you were in a pretty fast environment? It was a day of, let's call it 11 appointments in 8 hours or something like that.
That's a slow day, Kevin.
That's a slow day.
That's a slow day.
Let's call it 20 appointments in 8 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's more like...
It's a pretty crazy day.
That's a regular day.
Okay. So it's all pretty crazy. Yeah. So
it's fun, it's fast, but it's
just nonstop.
Yes.
Give us an example of a time that there was really good communication between you and a vet, and that helped make. You said earlier that you're supporting the pet parent, you're supporting the vet, and maybe a time where that communication helped you do your job in that respect. You were able to support the vet, you were able to support the pet parent, and also continue throughout the day.
Well, that unfortunately comes like every day. That's not something that ever stops. But if I can recall a specific situation, we had at a previous clinic where I worked, a client came in. It was a brand new client. Pet had not been to the vet in a couple of years, and was coming in for potential end of life services because it was snapping at the kids in the household and the other pet in the household. So the communication and the help was able to be elaborated in that scenario where I asked the pet parent if our pet is taking any supplements, have we ever addressed any possible, arthritic pain or issues or onsets of it. And there was nothing. There was nothing previously done.
Okay.
So I communicated to that veterinarian, and that vet in particular was younger, not as experienced, not your typical, 20 plus years in the field. And I basically went on by experience as to, I don't think we don't have to go ahead and proceed as long as the owner is okay. And the owner completely understood and was thankful to have the option of, I can do blood work and I can put my pet on NSAIDs as everything comes back normal and go from there.
Okay.
And it ultimately fixed an issue. The dog was just really painful.
Okay, and then then you did not have to proceed to the end of life care. Okay. Wow, that's a really good story. We talk a lot on this podcast about both the working life of a veterinarian and then the life outside of it. Mm-hmm. And there's terms like work-life balance. There's something that Dr. Jason, who of course our executive medical director, we talked about the idea of filling your cup and making sure that you're taking care of yourself. That's something that we speak with Dr. Rodney a lot about. So you've talked a lot about how techs are supporting vets mm-hmm. every day. And it sounds like vice versa, right? Yes. It's really a huge team environment. Yes. But with the ins and outs of the day, of that 11-hour day and 20-some appointments, and then you go home and you got to turn your brain off, whatever it may be. How can vet techs go from supporting through the day and just being supportive of veterinarians across the board, whether it's outside of work and in it?
Obviously, without overstepping any boundaries, I think given a group of people who work so many endless hours in a day throughout the week and, at a time for years, you have this somewhat family bond where you feel comfortable enough reaching out either via a text message mm-hmm. or a phone call and just saying, just checking in, great job today. Or I followed up with, I had so-and-so follow up with the client from the other day with this, odd, strange case who, I know you were worried about, just letting you know it's doing well. Like, consider them family. We are all family, and just do the same follow-ups, check in with people, and, just let them know you're here. You're thinking about them too. Yeah. It's like you said, vice versa. They're thinking about you too. I've had plenty of days, and especially beginning of the career, where euthanasias were always my hardest. Every experience was very different, but at the end they were just equally difficult. And it was nice to be able to have one of my veterinarians reach out to me saying, just making sure that you're okay and
supporting each other.
Absolutely.
Understanding you have a shared experience.
Yes.
So 13 years working as a vet tech, ups and downs, and now you're here at My Pets Wellness.
Yes.
But all of the all the experience you have, I know we've only spoken for a few minutes, but such a good insight into that world, that relationship between the vet tech and the vet, which, as I come to learn more and more as we do this work, is just extremely important. Yes. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you.
And, talking to us about that vital relationship. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me. And I love sharing my experience and the little glimpse of things that I can share. It's
again, I'm sure you have endless stories too.
Oh, yes, I do.
But coming back again and again to supporting your team member.
Yes.
And being a team and that open communication and how important the two of you working together is.
Yes, it is absolute key. And that comes from being able to have trust with your technician and also trust with your vet. So as a tech, I have to trust my veterinarian, and my veterinarian has to trust me to make sure that I have the pet parent, the pet's best interest at hand. And if regardless of suggestions that may be made, all parties' decisions are considered and respected equally.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you very much again. And thank you everybody else who tuned in today. excuse me, you can find out more about us at mypetswellness.net. We have this podcast, the Weekly Wellness Podcast, that comes out every Wednesday. We also have a DVM support group you can learn more about that meets every Thursday. And anything else you want to learn about us, you can find us at mypetswellness.net. So, Jimmari, thanks again.
Thank you, Kevin.
And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. And we'll see you next week on the My Pets Wellness Weekly Wellness Podcast. Take care.
Bye-bye.